Assalamu alaikum. Naseem साहब क्या हाल है?
Walaikum assalam, alhamdulillah, very good. How about yourself?
Alhamdulillah, thank you so much for taking out the time. It's been some time that I've been curious about picking your brain on a topic that's actually really close to my heart. And thank you so much for agreeing to actually provide insights. And that topic is actually coaching. So
very interesting.
The problem that has happened is that during this Corona COVID-19 time with the lockdown, a lot of organizational development interventions have seen a sharp decline because obviously people can't meet up, in-person programs can't happen. So organizational development industry as a whole has been trying to create digital ready products. And one of the projects or products that are very easily available and can be converted into a one-on-one intervention for corporates is definitely coaching. Now, coaching has been a buzzword even before, and there are so many coaching interventions happening globally. It is an industry working in the billions these days, and yet I feel like I don't really understand it. Because to me, it just feels like you're sitting down with someone and it's not very different from therapy. So if I am to get therapy, it's probably better for me to go to a licensed therapist. Why do I need coaches? And if I do, what should I be looking for? So without further ado, I'd just like to point the guns over to you. What are some of the reasons why someone might need coaching? And even before that, if you may, what might constitute the term coaching?
Well, certainly it's not therapy. That's very clear. Coaching helps an individual improve his behaviors at workplace, and it has to have a direct impact on business. So these are two key things. A behavioral change and impact on business. Now, there are many reasons, but I would identify three top reasons that organizations or individuals need coaching. Number one, those who are being promoted to the next level, their work behaviors, their time allocations, their interaction with their colleagues, with their teams need to change. And we need to understand that what is expected out of them in this new role that they are going to take up. So they need to have an interaction with an experienced coach who can guide him, who can help him discover that what are the behavioral changes that would be required from the individual who's being promoted. Secondly, there could be people in the organizations that OD or HR managers consider that there's some technical competency is very critical for the organization. However, they have troubled relationships at workplace. So they need coaching in order to improve their relationship, to change in their behaviors. And thirdly, coaching gives a new leadership perspective to anybody involved in this process.
Interesting. What sort of new perspectives might those be?
Well, the new perspective would be that what kind of team that individual is dealing with, help identify what are the key motivators and drivers of various team members, and how you are going to treat each team member differently, keeping in view their key drivers and key motivators, and then understanding their mutual relationships. And also it gives a new perspective of being able to think strategically. In my experience of last many years, I've seen managers who've gone up to the HOD level, but they are too involved in operational issues, and their CEOs or their direct managers expect them to come with more strategic planning and thinking, but they are involved in operational levels. So I think they need a new perspective in terms of changing their paradigm from operational effectiveness to coming up with more strategic thinking. So just a few examples.
That's an example. Thank you so much for providing that example, because I think it really drives down the point that in order to create that change from an operational shift and coming towards something that is more strategic, you need to make that change. But I'm still not convinced. If you have to create a change in your paradigm, it might still be construed as therapy. I mean, your therapist can just, regurgitate the same lingo that you find in Harvard Business Review, and voila, you've got coaching. So how is coaching different from therapy?
No, I think it is about focusing in terms of your workplace behavior. It is about changing your priorities. It is about dealing with non-productive employees or non-productive behaviors. It is about prioritizing what you need to do. So therapy is more concerned with mind sciences, about thinking patterns. It is about practicality. It is getting into the action in the right frame of mind. It is about focusing on the right things. It is about managing your time properly. It is about managing your resources properly. So I think it's very different from therapy.
Okay, and one term that you use that I haven't been able to get out of my mind is business behavior. So you said that coaching is related to changing business behavior, but I've actually heard that a lot of coaches actually talk about why we as people might need to change our perspectives. So please help me connect the dot between how should I change myself and whether it is even possible for me to actually see how a change in my behavior could actually lead to a change in business behavior.
Okay, so when you change your behavior with various individuals, they become more productive in the organizations. And when you reprioritize your own work or you focus on different things, your effectiveness on business would improve. And that would have a direct impact on business of the organization. It would have direct impact on performance and result of your own self and of your team members. And in many cases, it would also facilitate your boss, because if you are doing strategic work, you are taking away a lot of operational issues from your boss, enabling him to think at even a higher level. And the organization overall moves up the ladder as a complete hierarchy, achieving better results for the stakeholders, for the shareholders.
It's very interesting because, yes, on a theoretical basis, this is making so much sense. But the thing that comes up in my conversations a lot is that a lot of people have experimented with coaching. And the coachee's experience, which is that if I've been assigned a coach from my organization, sometimes I might not feel like this was the right thing to do because I'm just, my organization is just paying a coach to just sit there with me, and I didn't feel those results, or maybe the HR didn't feel those results because it was going into a black box, or maybe the organization doesn't really see that effectiveness. So what I'm trying to ask is that if I want to exactly experiment with coaching, what are some of the things that I might be looking out for? What sort of coaching providers should I be going to? What are the questions that I should be asking them so that I'm able to achieve the benefits that you speak of?
I think a couple of things that as an OD head or as an HR head who's hiring a coach, you need to find out that how much interaction the coach is having with the line managers, or what we call in Sherpa coaching as executive contact. So that is one element, that he interacts directly with the line managers to identify what are the behaviors that need to change, or what are the work styles that need to be changed with their direct reports. Okay, that's one thing. Second thing, I think we also need to evaluate that is this coaching each session a stand-alone session, or is a process involved in it? It is a systematic, process-driven thing which starts at a point, has a very definite starting point, and has a very definite finish point. And between these points, the objectives are set, and then those objectives are achieved. And third thing is that there has to be a system of evaluating the impact on business and evaluating the impact of coaching on the client himself or herself. I think these three are success makers for a good coaching intervention.
Interesting. So I'm going to take out three words that you used from all this: Sherpa, process, and impact. And I would want you to dive into detail for all three, because I feel like we need to define them. So what is Sherpa?
So Sherpa, a very quick background that Sherpas were the high altitude climbers who would help mountaineers climb Mount Everest. They were basically initially working as porters, but then they became so experienced themselves that they started acting as coaches to the mountaineers. And they would identify that what are the dangerous spots on the mountain, what are the areas where mountaineers are making a mistake, what are the possible mistakes that they could make in future if they continue on a certain path. So the Sherpa coaching is a process-driven thing, and I'll share with you a diagram which will explain that how the Sherpa helps a client take a certain path or a certain route to get to the top or achieve summit. So there's a lot of analogy between climbing the Everest and getting on top in the organization or climbing an organizational ladder.
Very interesting. So you're saying that there are two sorts of Sherpas. One is a Sherpa that is an actual Nepalese porter that would take you up the mountain. No, will not take you, but as you're saying, he would guide you, and then you'd be free to make your own decisions. And then you're saying that this Sherpa model has also been converted into a coaching model?
Yes, it has been converted into a coaching model using similar analogies and a similar process.
Interesting. And why do you think that people should go for this process other than the other ones? I'm sure there are other coaching processes available in the world.
Because it ensures success and it ensures impact.
Okay, now make me believe you.
Okay, let me share with you the model, the Sherpa model, and share a few thoughts with it. So I am going to here show a slide, a diagram very quickly, and let's see. Okay.
Okay, I see triangles.
Yes. All right. So this is the first level, what we call as taking stock. That's where the client gets an opportunity to discover himself or herself, know about his strengths and weaknesses, know about his value system, know about his key drivers. Okay, this is what we call a discovery phase. It gives an overview of the where you are at the moment. This is what we call a global view, a global perspective. That's where environment scan is done, where the client goes to peers, people around him or her, and tries to identify what is the perception of others about the individual and have an overall 360-degree view of how he or she is perceived. Okay. And then the third level is identifying the areas which need change, setting a clear direction, identifying very specific areas that the Sherpa and the client is going to work together. Okay. And fourth level is what we call charting course. So there could be different routes to getting to this destination. Primarily, two routes have been identified here. One is what we call relationship route, and the other is organizational route. So each route has very specific tools available. So it is not about just asking questions and just having a discussion. It is giving very specific tools for each area of weakness which have been identified. In my experience in the past, I have seen that for every individual, there's a primary path and there are few secondary paths that one needs to focus on. For example, one individual could have specific weaknesses in delegating. So there are very specific tools that we offer to the individuals. So this is a major part of our total intervention where we, and not only that, we help the individual go and implement those tools, take a feedback, and then again give a feedback how he or she can improve the implementation of the tools. Once having gone through, then this agenda is set. We agree that we have specific timelines, and accountability system is put in place, and specifically a self-accountability system in place. And then obviously we reach the summit where we have achieved what we had set here at this phase of destination. So it's a very, very specific process-driven thing.
So if I believe that this is a process, then I also have to think that obviously this process will start. Is there an end point to this process as well? Because normally when coaching interventions start, you don't know how long it's going to go.
Generally, it's a very, very structured process. It goes for about 10 to 12 sessions of about 60 minutes each.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so very specific. Depending upon the availability of time, it could be once a fortnight or maybe once a 3 weeks. Or if somebody wants to condense it, it could be a weekly session and we finish it off in 12 weeks. So there's a start point and there's an end point, depending how much time the client is willing to give and how much time the client wants to spend is this complete intervention here.
You know, this is amazing. When somebody starts talking numbers, then, you know, my mind lights up. So you're saying that 12 weeks and giving 12 hours in those 12 weeks will lead me, if I was so inclined that I was operational, it might create a change in me that I would become more strategic if that was a problem that I was going through, correct?
Yes, perfect. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. So that I think gives me some measure of confidence, because generally HR departments or HR teams don't have any idea. I mean, for example, as an organizational development professional, this diagram might actually help me that I might come to you in week 6 and ask you, Naseem Sahab, what stage or what phase are we in?
No, you won't be coming to me on week 6. Actually, I'll be coming to you on week 6.
Okay.
Okay. And as an OD person or as an executive contact, I'll come and discuss with you that this is the progress, this is where we are, this is our agenda, and what do you think, that what is your feedback? Is there any improvement that you're seeing, or is there anything specific that you would want us to handle in this time frame? And we'll come to you. And then we'll again come to you after the end of the period and share with you that what has happened, what has been the progress.
So you're saying that the meetings with the HR or senior management team is scheduled as part of the process?
Yes, that is part of the process. That's
very interesting. Okay, so how many meetings other than the coachee will you be having as a coach?
We'll have 3 meetings minimum.
Okay.
One at the start of the program, then 6 sessions down the road, and then towards the end of the program.
Very interesting. And where is this process coming from? I mean, why should I trust this process?
Oh, it is a very well research-based process. And by the way, this is the book which has been written by 2 wonderful ladies, Brenda and Judith, the Sherpa Guide. And it is not only that, they have a very, very extensive, elaborate material which is supported through this whole process. Every client gets a journal where the client gets an opportunity to note down the areas that individuals are working, the homework assignments are given, they have to report back, there are assessments, there are tools, there are practice sessions, and obviously 360 feedback mechanisms. We have 2 primary tools that we use for leadership assessments, actually 3. One is which has been developed by Brenda herself on leadership. Then there is another one which Training Impact has developed over a period of last 15 years, which is our 7 dimensions leadership behaviors. And then obviously the DISC assessment tool. So a combination of these tools is also used for self-assessment and identifying specific leadership styles and what are the areas of improvement.
Very interesting. So you're saying that you have assessment tools that might actually enable people to see themselves, I mean, what is the progress that they've had ever since they started, correct?
Correct. Absolutely. Very elaborate one.
So let's assume that I was your coachee. So is there any documentation that I might receive or that you might receive before we start our coaching process?
Yes, you will receive this journal.
Oh, looks fancy.
Yeah, you will yes. So you will receive this journal, which will have a lot of work being done. So this is my journal when I was working on this, and I have my notes on this. Probably you can see somewhere, you know, these are all my notes. And, you know, a lot of note taking, a lot of homework, a lot of assessments, and asking a lot of questions, a lot of thinking. They go back and do a reflection, think about it, what are their aspirations, where do they really want to go, and, you know, yeah.
I didn't think that there would be homework involved.
Absolutely, there would be homework involved. Every session, they get an homework, they need to do assessments, they need to do assignments. Yes. So it's not just sitting and talking with each other.
Very interesting. And you also mentioned assessments. We've seen a lot of 360-degree assessments done. We've seen a lot of personal assessments done. Are there any established assessments as part of this concept?
Yes, I have already mentioned there are three tools that we would be using. So they have, Sherpa have a leadership assessment tools, then our 7-dimensional model, then this DISC is a very famous tool which is used.
So they use DISC.
Yes, they use DISC, absolutely. And this is for leadership assessment, but there are other areas, you know, for example, anger management, for example, time management. There are tools to identify how well a person is doing in time management, how the person is prioritizing. There are communication tools, there are delegation tools, they are handling difficult people tools. So assessment tools, all of them are available here.
Very interesting.
Very comprehensive program, very comprehensive program.
And I'm guessing that this homework then gets to stay a part of you. It stays with you if you're getting this journal, and then you can always browse back and see what you did and always keep the learnings of the program with you.
In fact, it won't even finish after 12 weeks or 12 sessions. We can meet up 3 or 4 months down the road to review that how the client is doing in terms of implementing those things.
Very interesting. Can you give me an example of you executing this process in Pakistan, because that's the context that you're working in, and what were the changes without naming any names?
Yes, there is one. There are a couple of organizations that have done this work in past. In one organization, there were 18 participants. They were all general manager level HODs. Another organization, there were another 15 participants. And the third organization, there were 30 participants. There were 3 layers to it. There were HOD, their direct reports, and third layer. And all of them went through this exercise, and we've got some very good feedback from the organization.
Okay, in your experience, can you give me an example of the biggest journey that someone has gone through in your process of working with them? Just if I can understand what were the behaviors that they were engaging in, and what were the changes afterwards?
You know, while we focus on behaviors at workplace, I got an SMS from a spouse of one of the participants, and she wrote a testimony.
Okay.
And she said that my husband has become much more focused after going through these interventions. And then there was another feedback, from the line manager about a person who in crisis would become very stressful, and as a result of stress would not be able to solve those problems. And as a result of this intervention, the line managers certainly came up and said that the people could handle crisis in a better way. There are a lot of examples of people. There was one individual, one of the issues he identifies was, which actually was not the issue. There were other underlying issues, but the problem was that he was going late from work at 9 p.m. or something like that. So it took me about 3-4 sessions to actually identify the problem and give him solution and then implement those solutions. And, you know, so I took a feedback. I said, you know, so how's it going? He said, well, I can only say that last time when I was in my car, I received a call from my wife at, it was 5:30, and told her I was in my car, and she was really surprised that why is it happening now?
Wow.
So I think impact on business is there, definitely. And there's also impact on personal life. Most of our imbalance between professional and personal family life is a result of our ineffectiveness at workplace.
Interesting. So not only are you saying that there is a process, you're also saying that you're having meetings with the key stakeholders that the coachee is involved with, and you're getting those answers and inputs. My question then becomes, okay, I've gone through this coaching process and I'm going through this change. Are there assessments that I might even be able to take afterwards? So for example, does the journal have anything in terms of an assessment that I can take even, let's say, 2 years or 3 years after my coaching intervention?
Yes, we can repeat these assessments on leadership. And by the way, we can also go for a 360 degrees 3 months down the road.
Interesting.
So the same tools, and then we can have a comparison of pre and post assessment of an individual.
Okay, so far we've talked about people working in formal organizations and their organizations through their regimented HR procedures, identifying the need for coaching and then going through. Is this process only for people like that, or if someone is working in a freelance capacity and would like to get into this process to figure out what changes they might want to have in themselves to become a better, more productive or more efficient individual, is this also for individuals?
Absolutely. At this time, I have about 3 individuals who are themselves entrepreneurs. One of them is at a very serious senior position as a chairman of an organization, and there are 2 individuals who are entrepreneurs. And so as a part of this coaching process, they also discuss their organizational issues with us. And by the way, when we are talking of organizationals and we are talking of top people, this helps develop us trust-centric organizations, because that's the essential part. They develop trust, they change their behaviors so that it's a trustworthiness between both them and their teams. So that's another reason that organizations should go for this kind of an intervention.
Interesting. But I'm sorry, but I fail to understand the relationship between building trust and your organization buying a coaching program. If you can please care to elaborate on that.
You see, trust is a very, very essential part for having a successful work environment. And there are lots said on high performance teams. One key factor in building a high performance team is trust. And if you have a high performance team, you have a very, very effective organization. So there's a direct relationship between trustworthiness, a high performance team, and an effective organization.
Very interesting. And generally, I think people don't really leave organizations, they leave managers. And part of that might even be that either they don't trust their managers or they're not trusted by their organization to do what they want to do. So, okay, this actually gives me a lot more clarity on the process. So in your experience of executing this, has it only been done in Pakistan, or is it a more informed approach? Because I'm guessing that these women, Brenda and Judith, are not just have not just created this model for Pakistan. So can you tell me about some international exposure?
No, they are all over the world, and there are 100+ Sherpas all around the world, which are part of this team and which actually run this complete process. And by the way, Training Impact is their exclusive partner, not only in Pakistan, but in Malaysia, in Vietnam, in Qatar, in UAE.
Very interesting.
Yeah. So clients in these organizations, and now with virtuality coming into as becoming a new normal, physical distance does not matter. So our clients in all these countries can benefit from these programs.
Okay. So if somebody wants to go and check out this coaching model, but they don't want to spend all of this money, is there, let's say, some trial in this virtual space that they can come through and they can figure out if this coaching model is for them?
I have recently announced for about 2 sessions of 45 minutes each as a trial run. So people are welcome for that to register. And so, certainly on first come first basis, we can give that opportunity.
Very interesting. And if I am one of those people, what might I be looking to achieve after those 2 sessions? Can you talk to me very briefly about the sorts of benefits that I might expect?
Yes, you would understand how Sherpa coaching works, and you would be able to, in fact, handle, learn about one of the areas that you need to focus on.
Very interesting. Naseem sir, thank you so much for taking out this time. And I'm in the links for this video, I'm also going to mention Training Impact's page and all other social media presence where people can find you. I will also share a link of the post that you're talking about in which people can actually reach out to you on a first come first serve basis to avail this 2 free session offer. Is there anything else that you might want to tell our audiences about why, if they haven't thought about coaching so far, they definitely should try going for it?
The coaching should also be supplemented with any other leadership programs. And the reason I came into coaching was that I realized that after going through leadership programs, people need a follow-up system. So our coaching intervention has gone very strongly with our Leadership Expedition, which was an outdoor program. And so it goes in hand with that. So I think it has to be supplemented through a coaching process.
Okay, but your outdoor programs may not be in vogue for some time, considering the corona environment that we're going through.
Very soon, people would be experiencing outdoor programs, ensuring social distancing and all safety measures. So we are going to come up with a good news very soon, inshallah.
Great, Naseem Zafar, thank you so much. I wish you good luck, and let's stay in touch.
Thank you, Shahzeb. Allah Hafiz.
Bye.